Good morning, beautiful friends. Welcome to my channel. It's Sean from Seankbeauty. So today I figured we can do a very glamorous makeup look. This is me recreating a look that Maya had asked for details on in my Sephora video. I will make this very beginner friendly so that, if you're a beginner and you want to experiment with color, you can do so. I'm also using natural light. I used to do videos where I would do my makeup in natural light because it really does help you to, you know, get any place that you need to cover. Because sometimes we can think that we're covering everything in, regular light from inside the home. But when we get outside, we realize that there are some imperfections when we're in our car and we look in the mirror. So natural light definitely is key as much as you can. Now, it is kind of crazy with the lighting outside. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'm assuming, as the sun starts to really peek through, I'm going to have to adjust the lighting. But for right now, it looks really, really good for me to do this video. So without further ado, beautiful friends, let's do this. All right, friends, so in that video, I actually used the Gucci primer and the Gucci foundation, and I will do my eyebrows off camera just for the sake of time. And of course, you all know I love the lip beiges. I'm going in with the lip balm. I also love the one from by Terry, but I don't have that with me. So I'm going in with 380N from the Gucci Natural Finish Fluid Foundation. And I'm just using my Chanel foundation brush from the sublimage. I love using this brush. This has become my go-to foundation brush for whatever reason. I think it's because it's really tightly packed and it distributes product really, really beautifully. And I'm not going to use a lot of this, but as you can see, it blends into my skin nicely, and I'm just pressing that in. And again, with natural light, it really does help you to see if there's going to be any areas that need perfecting that you would not pick up in regular lighting inside your home. Also, if you're a beginner, when you're putting on your foundation, start from the center, work out. Make sure you blend underneath so that there's no lines of delineation where there's no cutoff. And natural light really does help you to see how much blending you need to do underneath the jawline into the neck. So we want to make sure that we're cognizant of that. Okay, so brows are done. I'm not going to go in with concealer under the eyes. I'm going to wait until I'm done putting on my eyeshadow, just because some of these colors do have fallout. ABH is known to have a lot of fallout, but they have pigmented shades. Estee Lauder is known not to have fallout, but they have pigmented shades. So based off of what I know about my eyeshadows determines if I conceal first and then go into eyeshadow, or if I conceal afterwards. So with these shadows, I'm going to conceal under my eyes afterwards because I do know that these have fallout. So I started with the Jackie Aina Anastasia Beverly Hill collaboration palette. And I went in with the shade Ginger, and I also used Credit just to give me that wash of color. With a very precise brush, which I don't typically do, I'm going in with the Scott Barnes number 63 into those. I'm going to start off with Ginger first, and then I'm going to go into Credit shade, which is a deeper brown. So just taking this right into, not into the brow bone, but actually, upward towards it. What I have realized for myself about transition shades with me putting on makeup is that not only does it give nice contrast, but what it does is it makes the lid shades more pronounced. I'm now going in with that Credit shade. I'm hitting pan on this. Anastasia actually has a 30% off with their palettes, including the Jackie Aina palette. This is just a wonderful palette. So I'm just laying down pigment again, just bringing in that contrast and creating somewhat of a crease for me and not going right on my crease. As you can see, this is where my crease is. I'm going above my crease, again, creating more real estate. and I'm going to, right now, just concentrate on laying down pigment, and then I'm going to blend this out with a fluffier brush. And this just helps me to, you know, get that beautiful airbrush diffused look. And again, everybody has a different way of putting on makeup. I try different techniques all the time, and that's what makes makeup so much fun, is that there's so many different ways that you can put it on. Now going in with the Scott Barnes number 62 brush, I'm just going to just diffuse this color, just to make sure that I distribute this beautifully onto the eyelid. Making sure to kick this out. The reason why we kick it out with hooded lids or slightly hooded is because anything that goes downwards is going to make the hood of your eyes look even more droopy, and we don't want that. Okay, so now let's get into the colors that I use. All right, so the first thing that I did is I went into my Jouer Jet Set palette, and I went in with this black shade, and I'm just using my Chanel little sponge applicator. These work beautifully for placing pigment exactly where you want it. So I'm just going to place that on the outskirts of my eye right here, tapping it on that outer V. And this is just going to give me the lovely contrast and depth that I want with this eyeshadow look. So this is exactly what I did, Maya. So going back in, just making sure that I got enough pigment on the outskirts. Now I'm going into my Z palette from Makeup Forever. The shade that I went into was this beautiful green shade. And I just used this little spoolie here. Spoolie. I used this little sponge applicator and went into that green shade. And I pulled that all the way over into that black shade. And you see, you don't have to wet the brush, you don't have to do anything. You can definitely use your fingers. But this sponge applicator, because it's tightly packed, it does pick up pigment beautifully. And again, because it's small and it has a point, it really does help you to get the pigment exactly where you want it without it looking messy and you having to do a lot of cleanup. So that's why I love using this sponge applicator. And I just blend this, I just take this green straight into that black shade. And this again is from MAC Cosmetics. So what I did with that video, I actually went in back into the Jackie Aina palette with the shade Zam with this pointed pencil brush. And I just took that right into the inner corner of my eye. Just to let you all know, this does have fallout. So right in the inner corner. And try to take that a little bit into that green shade so that it doesn't look like I just aimlessly placed it in the inner corner. I'm just gonna go in with concealer under my eyes. This also brightens up the under eye area as well. Use a small tapered brush like this. And this just makes everything look really, really clean, you know? You don't want it to look like you don't know what you're doing when it comes to makeup. So I'm just taking that right underneath my eye area here and blending it with this brush. Using concealer too to do this can also sharpen up the outskirts of the eye. For my eyes, I went in with the Sumptuous Extreme from Estee Lauder, and I just use this to like prep my lashes for falsies. I'm just going to use a mirror here, the one I got from Fenty, and prep these. I'm taking this on the bottom waterline. Okay, another thing that I did that I just remembered was I used that same green shade and I took it right underneath right into my waterline all the way Okay, and then I went in with the Estee Lauder Double Wear, and I just tap on a little bit under my eyes. That just brightens up the eyes a little bit. This is in the shade 4W Medium Deep. And while I let that set, I use a fluffy brush like this, and I just make sure that I blend everything out so that there are no harsh lines. So now I'm gonna take the same foundation brush, and I'm just going to blend this out right underneath this eye area. So as you can see, just gives me like an instant lift. And again, with the natural light, it just looks so pretty. Next up is the Fenty Honey, and I just pressed this in right underneath my eye area. I don't take this directly underneath my eyes just because this can be very drying. Going into face powder, I'm going to go in with the Fenty Pro Filter. This is the shade 400. All I'm gonna do is use a big fluffy brush like this. Go into this powder. I am really loving this powder. Now this is a foundation powder, and so it gives you some more coverage if you need it. But I just love how this works as a press powder. All right, friends, now for bronzing. I used the Gucci bronzer in shade number 5, and I'm just gonna take out something small like this. When bronzing, we want the shape of the number 3. So because I wanna get in the sockets, I'm just taking this right into the socket there and bringing it up. When you start bronzing, bronzing warms up the face, contouring sculpts the face. That's the difference. However, I don't want to sculpt. When I do sculpt, I use the espresso shade from the Cushion foundation from Chantecaille, or I'd use my Fenty espresso stick. So as you can see, this is warming up the sockets of my jawline. So I'm just taking that up the sides of my face and bringing that into my forehead and taking this brush upward into my hairline. So just warming that up just a little bit. And of course you can use a bigger brush up here, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. And then we go down here, like right underneath the jawline. What I love to do is warm my nose. So right on the tops of my nose, both sides, using the same Gucci bronzer in shade number 5. And I'm gonna go in with the Scott Barnes number 63. This is a fan brush. And I love to look down because it helps me to elongate my nose. And so I'm going to prepare for lashes. I'm going in with the Style Opulence from Chandelier Luxe Lashes. Just going to add a little bit of lash glue here onto the rib of these lashes and allow them to dry, and then we'll move on to blush. So what I did in that video as far as blush is concerned is I went into the Supreme shade here from the Jackie Aina palette. Now because mine is almost out, I have to use a small brush just to get that initial pigment onto the brush, and then I place it right here, right? And I'm gonna diffuse that with a bigger brush. So, you know, this is how I did it that day. I won't even lie, friends. With a fluffy brush, I'm just gonna blend that out. So as you can see, it gives me a beautiful wash of color. Now, of course, you can use the Chanel Rosewood. That is also a really great one. All right, friends, I'm going in with the Intense 3 from Charlotte Tilbury. I don't overline or anything with this look. I just follow my natural lip line. This is a beautiful like chocolate brown shade. All right, and the next thing I did is I went in with this Trish McEvoy Power Red lip shade. This is a beautiful red. I've shown this in another video where I used mostly Trish McEvoy's products. And as you can see, this is just beautiful. And then what we want to do is we want to clean up any areas where there are some imperfections. I'm just using a clean brush to do that. Of course, you can use concealer. And the highlighter that I went in is the Fenty Sandcastle. So that's this shade here. And I just use a small Lancome brush to do it. A little bit of this goes a long way, so don't go ham with this. I'm just going to show you just a little bit on this brush what it's going to do, because it is powerful. So that just gives you a nice highlighted look. And I just go in the shape of a C, and I'm just taking this right here. If you use too much highlighter, it'll cause you to look like your skin is very textured. So we don't want to use a lot of highlighter. Now I'm going to go in with the Fenty Pro Filter in 400 again, and I just dust over everything. And dusting over everything for me is simply you know, really getting rid of any imperfections, any harsh lines, just blending everything together beautifully. Another thing I did too, I forgot, I used a little bit of this Sandcastle on the tips of my nose and down the bridge right here. I just went over it with this brush just to blend it out so it did not look harsh. So hopefully, Maya, this was helpful to you to see all the products that I used, and I'm leaving the details of everything down below. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you all in my next one. Ciao for now.